Money indictment, 34 counts of business fraud. Trump was indicted in Manhattan for falsifying business records in connection with payments to Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. The trial began in April 2024, making him the first former president to face trial. 1. Mar-a-Lago documents. Indictment. Trump was indicted for illegal handling of classified documents taken from the White House to his Florida residence. The indictment includes charges of obstruction of justice. 3.
Donald Trump is mentioned more than 38,000 times in the Epstein files so far. Only a small fraction are covered.
Election interference indictment in Washington, D.C. Trump was indicted for his role in attempts to overturn the 2020 election results, including the events of January 6, 2021.4. Election interference indictment in Georgia. Trump and 18 others were indicted in Georgia for alleged conspiracy to overturn the state's 2020 election results. New York Attorney General lawsuit. Letitia James sued Trump and his company for fraudulent business practices and inflated property valuations. Voting machine lawsuits. Smartmatic and other voting machine companies sued Trump for defamation following his allegations of election fraud. 6. Karen E. Jean-Pierre v. Trump. A lawsuit from a former White House employee alleging violations. Tariff lawsuits from 24 states. A coalition of 24 states sued the Trump administration for recently imposed global tariffs of 10%, arguing that the president cannot bypass a recently decided Supreme Court ruling. California and 23 other states suing over new tariffs. These states argue that Trump is improperly using a never-before-invoked law to impose these tariffs. Hundreds of lawsuits against Trump's administrative actions. Democracy Docket is currently tracking hundreds of lawsuits related to the Trump administration's illegal and authoritarian actions. E. Jean Carroll, a writer, alleged that Donald Trump sexually assaulted her in a Bergdorf Goodman department store dressing room in the mid-1990s, specifically 1995 or 1996. She claimed Trump forcibly penetrated her with his fingers during the incident. 4. Carroll first publicly disclosed the alleged assault in 2019 in a memoir, and Trump responded by denying her claims and stating, "She is not my type," and that the incident never happened.
Although the evidence against Trump was overwhelming, this was the only thing that happened.
In May 2023, a federal jury found Trump liable for sexually abusing Carroll and defaming her when he denied her allegations. The jury awarded Carroll $5 million in damages in this initial verdict. In a separate defamation case related to Trump's 2019 statements, a jury in January 2024 awarded Carroll $83.3 million in damages. 3. In September 2025, a U.S. appeals court upheld the $83.3 million penalty against Trump. 3. Another federal appeals court in December 2024 upheld the original $5 million verdict, finding Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation. 9. More than a dozen women have accused Trump of sexual assault or harassment over the years. 7. In April 2016, an anonymous woman using the pseudonym Katie Johnson filed a lawsuit accusing both Trump and Jeffrey Epstein of forcibly raping her when she was 13 years old at Epstein's Manhattan residence in 1994. The case was dismissed the following month. Trump's former wife Ivana Trump alleged a violent assault during their 1990 divorce, which she later walked back. Businesswoman Jill Hath sued Trump in 1997 alleging sexual harassment and assault, but later dropped the lawsuit after settling with Trump in a separate breach of contract case. Although the evidence against Trump was overwhelming, that's how it works in an imperialist fascist state.
My president!
Trump administration continued and expanded the US drone program in countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, and Pakistan. Critics argued that some attacks violated international humanitarian law by causing disproportionate civilian casualties. In Yemen alone, Trump-approved strikes killed at least 38 civilians in 2017 and 2018, according to human rights organizations. Trump's zero-tolerance policy led to thousands of children being separated from their parents at the U.S. southern border. The United Nations and other human rights organizations described this as a crime against humanity. The policy was condemned as cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, potentially violating the Convention on the Rights of the Child and other international human rights treaties. The killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani through a drone strike in Baghdad in January 2020 was criticized as an illegal extrajudicial killing under international law, as it occurred without Iraq's consent and without an immediate military threat to the US. Iran and other nations called the killing an act of international terrorism and a violation of sovereignty. Trump repeatedly encouraged war crimes, including suggesting that the US should take out terrorists' families and use torture methods like waterboarding, a hell of a lot worse than waterboarding. These statements were criticized as encouraging violations of the Geneva Conventions and other international laws prohibiting torture and targeting civilians. In January 2025, Trump paused all U.S. foreign aid, including PEPFAR. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief 126 PEPFAR is credited with saving 26 million lives and enabling 7.8 million babies to be born without HIV since 2003-38. During the funding freeze, it was estimated that up to 500,000 to 1,600,000 lives could be lost globally because of the fascist leader Donald Trump. Specifically for HIV, an additional 300,000 children were projected to die of AIDS-related causes between 2025 and 2029 due to the funding disruptions. All of this is just a fraction of all the murders and evil Donald Trump has done. Time has started to run out on him. He knows he can't escape the Epstein files coming out. He is doing everything he can to distract people so they don't talk about it anymore, including starting two wars and threatening other NATO countries with war. Then when he doesn't get help with the mass murder of civilians in Iran from the same countries he threatened with war with just a few weeks before, he cries like a baby. He have no friends anymore, only some other fascists like himself.